Welcome back, race fans, to P0 in Singapore. It's going to be a city track. We've got 17 races on the grid. Running down from Skarma, Rob, Chris Alien, Deverox, Dale, Pace, Fatboy Sims, Baz Living, Luculus, Chiv, Capax, Nyari, Speechy, L, Craig Brook, Bosch, and Michelando. Should be a good race. Hopefully clean. Tire wear is going to be a nightmare for everyone. I believe we've got either Rob or Michelando out first. Was Michelando. Everyone going to be seating in, warming up, getting the grips with the track again. Having talked to some of the racers, went well yesterday. And a little bit of a practice today before the main race. Going to be tight through some of these corners. Going around 9 now. All I can hope is that we get through lap 1 and the usual chaos that infers from it cleanly and without a safety car. Although, to be honest, I don't think we're going to avoid all the safety cars. Or we're going to avoid all safety cars today. And maybe 1 or 2. Currently, everyone on softs bar Dale and Chris Alien. Really going to come down tyre management, even though this is a very harsh track on tyre wear. Could be seeing 2 stops from a lot of people, and or people pitting under the safety car to hold position. And we have Michelando live for the first run of Quali 1. Down to turn 5 now. Cleanly put together. Easy turn 6. Nice right hand sweep. Hard 90-degree left. Followed into a hard, slightly acute right. Wider bend left into 9. 10, 11 and 12, sweeping right, left, right. Lando putting it through there nicely. Down to the hairpin at 13. Potentially where we're going to see some spicy action from many of our drivers today. Blasting all the way up to 14. Heavy right-hander. Nice sweeping left for 15. 90-degree right angle, right-hander for turn 16 into a sweeping left for 17. Easily around 18 and 19, both left-hand bends. 1:28.9. Beaten immediately to Craig Brook, 1:28.4. Decimals have not been found. Dale putting in a 1:30.7. Baz Living, 1:29.8. Devarax, 1:30 flat. Bosch Living, 1:30.13. On board with Rob at the moment. setting a purple sector 1. Round turn 8. Out of it a little sloppily. Turn 10. Cleanly taken. 11. 12. Through the bridge section. Into 13. Mikey setting a 129.6. Shiv 128.5. .3 for Rob Wills, setting it in for provisional pole at the moment. Skarma invalidating. Bad Boy Sims putting in a 127.8 comfortably. Time left on the track, most likely. K-Pax, Nyari, and L all out. Set times. We are on board with Nyari. Through 1 and 2. Little wobble. 3. Blasting past 4. Held cleanly through 5. Run up to 6. Nice sweeping right-hander. Absolutely gunning it down to 7. Keeps it in the lines. Purple sector 1. Chewed up and spat out at 8. 9. Ooh, loses the back end at 9. Potentially locks up, loses the back end slightly. Hasn't invalidated. Ooh. Really struggling through 10, 11, and 12. Round 13 now will have lost quite a bit of time. Back end sliding out again for Nyari. Really having to fight the car. Not what you want to be seeing in Quali 1. Nyari setting a 132.2. Mostly down to losing the back end. 16 at the moment for L. Through the last 4 corners. Holds it together, putting himself on a 127.9. Second place at the moment. Chris Alien on an outlap. Sorry, Skarma on an outlap. Chris Alien setting his pace lap. Up to 1. Payback's coming in now. Setting a 128.7. 10, 11, 12 through the bridge. Down to 13. Alien holding it together. Diving down to 14 now. No purple sector 2 for him. Jumping back on board with Skarma in a moment. Could potentially be a good time for Chris Alien. .127.86, just pipping Elliott to the post. Skarma looking to set a time. Pace and Lucullus still to go out for their first laps of Q1. This is not an easy track. Some of our racers seem to be struggling slightly with it. Rob Wills has disconnected, but is safe at the moment. It is time set. Probably no real worries at the moment, seeing as major improvements will be able to be made across the entire board for him to drop out into Q2. Farmer coming in at 128.6, just behind his teammate Chiv. Outlap for Bosch. Yari still having issues. Pace on their outlap now. L going into the pits. L and Chris Alien both disconnecting. Tiring from Q1. Happy with their efforts. Lucullus now on an outlap as well. Dharma into the pits. Looks like Bosch aiming for improvement. Dale also looking to keep himself out of the drop zone. Niari pushing really hard. Pace is on for a hot lap now. Lucullus some distance to cover. 5 minutes left of qualifying one. Bad Boy Sims has retired. Chiv has retired. Out of 12 into 13. Some of our players may be trying to save as much wear and tear on the softs as possible. Wanting to keep maybe an extra set going into the race. Not a bad plan. Pace puts himself in fourth, 128.2. He will be happy with that. Lucullus having set a purple sector 2. On for an absolute scorcher at the moment. Through 16. Held together cleanly. And 17. A little bit of a wobble on the nose coming out there. Drags himself through. 128.8. Dale currently beating his time by half second. Pulling it to a full second. Really fighting hard to get out of the drop zone. A little early on the brakes potentially, but held it together nicely. Been it flat. 129.1 puts himself out of the drop zone currently. As living, invalidating. Forex pushing hard. Looking to also get himself out of the drop zone. On his first race of the season, Purple Sector 2. Hoping to make a good debut showing for himself. Devereaux just keeping himself out of the drop zone. Yari having invalidated. 50 seconds. Potentially will not get a chance at another lap. We'll have to push very hard to get that chance. As Living potentially accepting his fate. He'll land on an outlap. Nari really struggling. Does not get another chance. That will be him out of Q1. Advancing into Q2, Fatboy Sims, Chris Alien, L, Pace, Rob, Craig Brook, Chiv, K-Pax, Skarma, Lucas, Michelando, Speakley, Bosch, Dale, Deverax. On his debut race, we have lost Baz Living and Nyari. Ooh, everyone's out early. Chris Alien leading the pack. a very busy track very early on here. Only Bosch and Lucullus staying in. Even at that, I believe Bosch is coming out. We only Lucullus left in the pits. Everyone getting their game faces on officially now in Q2. My apologies. We are online with Chris Alien. First hot lap of Q2. Himself through turns 1, 2, and 3 nicely. Blasting down to 4 and 5 clean. Six, not even a worry. 7 now coming up. Holds it together. Hitting himself very hard here. We're going to have times coming in thick and fast from everyone. Tags the wall ever so slightly there. '13 is where everyone will be slowed up into 14 the exact same way. 1 minute 2 at the split. Everyone on softs now. We may be seeing old softs being used. Trying to save a set. We will see. 127.3, Chris Alien. 127.4 for Rob. Michelando, 128.2. Pace, 128.6. Devorex, 128.9. Chiv, 128.7. Dale, 129.2. L setting a 128.8. Beagley with a 129.5. Pace 128.6. Dharma coming in with a 128.3. All our races setting respectable times. Bosch coming in with a 128.9. Keeping himself out of the drop zone. Currently in our drop zone is Dale, Speakley, Devorax, and Luke and Craig. Luke and Craig not setting times yet. We have Lucullus coming out of the pits now and Craig on an outlap. Craig is online and gunning it down to corner 1. Neatly held together through 1, 2, and 3. Blasting through 4, pushing down to 5 now. Round it cleanly. 6 will be no trouble. Purple sector 1, 7. 8. 9, smooth as you like. Seen some racers struggle with this a little bit. He's through 10, 11, and 12. Making it nice and tight round 13. Purple sector 2. If he keeps this up, he will put himself in the running for pole. Will he keep it flat? Together beautifully. Just lets off 128.5. Really good drive from Craig Brook. This is now on his hot lap. Everyone that's been out has set a pit. He's gone into pit. Dalian potentially improving on his time. Purple sector 1 for Lucullus. Through 9. Absolutely blasting it down the straight. Into 10. Hold these together. String them nicely. 11. 12. A little bit of contact on the back end there coming out of 13. Purple sector 2. Light connection jitter there. Blasting it down to 16 and 17. Ties it together nicely. Comes in at second. 127.8. Dale on an out lap. Craig coming into the pits. Lucullus for his first lap of the Q2 session, putting himself in second place. Dale picking up speed, and he's on for his first lap. Runs into a little bit of traffic. He might be annoyed about that. Will have cost him ever so slightly. Hopefully able to gain the time back and make improvement. Again, it is Devereaux's first race of the season, his debut. Maybe still just a little shaky on traffic rules. 13. But time puts Dale at half a second ahead of himself. As long as he can keep it together, keep it a clean run. Be a fairly substantial improvement. Outlaps for Craig, Pace, L, Bosch, and Devereaux. Dale going into the pits. That is a real shame. Real shame. Just gliding in through the pits. We are live and pushing with Devereaux. The 1000 himself. L and Bosch both on for lap improvement in hot lap mode. Jump to them in but a moment. Alien retires. Deverax invalidates his lap. Living, fighting his car through 10, 11, 12, and 13. Up on his time currently. Could still pull it back. We could see both Ferraris making big improvements. Bosch invalidates. L sets a 1:27.8, putting himself in provisional second. Pace now charging after his teammate. Looking to make a similar improvement. And does it. Puts himself in fifth with a 1:27.9. Brooke jumping him, 1:27.89. Outlaps for K-Pax, Dale, Speakley. Bosch staying out potentially. Deverax in the pit at the moment. All looking to make improvements and keep themselves out of the drop zone. Oh, Bosch holding it together right on the track limit there. Struggling ever so slightly. Will not improve on his time. 4 seconds behind. Apex invalidated. Dale looking to make big improvements. Purple sector 2 for him. L retires. Dale puts himself in 10th with a 1:28.555. Rob Will sets a new fastest lap with a 1:27.348, undercutting Chris Alien by 1/100th of a second. Just shy of 100th of a second. Come on, an outlap. Give pushing hard. Improvement on the board at the moment for 0.7 of a second. More than enough. .127, taking himself out of the drop zone. Dharma looking to keep himself clear. Bosch, we will be losing you into Q3. Hats off for really pushing yourself hard. There is one position that everyone is fighting for now. Purple sector 2 for Skama. Garma looking to put pace in the hot seat. Pace in the hot seat at the moment. K-Pax could put him through into the drop zone. 5 of a second. Will not get him it. He's just out with a 128.3. 4/10 of a second behind pace. Likely invalidating. We are losing. We will be losing K-Pax, Dale, Bosch, Devorax, 1000, and Spikely 522 going into Q3. In Q3, we have Rob, Chris Alien, Michelando, L, Skarma, Luculus, Fatboy Sims, Craigbrook, Chiv, and Pace. Both Ferraris in, both Red Bull Cash App, both McLarens, one Alpine, one Mercedes, and one Kick Racer. Zorba, sorry. Let me just get set up real quick. And racers, who will we see first out? Chris Alien. First out again. Followed by, I believe, Pace. Bob Michelando. Oh, it was L, sorry, my bad. With almost everyone out, actually. Both McLarens holding back. Everyone else out on the track. McLaren holding back for the time being. One of their races coming out now. Chiv. Joining him. Skarma bringing up the tail end. Q3. We are on board with Chris Alien. Absolutely blasting through turns 1 to 4. Little wobble coming out of turn 5. Potentially trying to heat his tyres, but at the wrong possible moment. Could have just been a little wobble though. Turn 7. 8. through 13. Dive bombing down to 14 now. As I've said before, we're going to see times coming in thick and fast. I'll try and keep on them as best as possible. .127.4. 127.2. L just pips him by 0.2 of a second. 127.7 for Rob. Lando coming in on 128, sorry, 0.06. New fastest lap by Fatboy Sims, 127.194. Craig, 127.575. Buchler setting a 127.708. Pace with a respectable 127.777. Give that man a jackpot. Absolutely caning it down towards 16 and 17. Will he keep it flat through here? Absolutely draining his battery. 128.22. Dharma following suit. Not yielding an inch to the track. .128.43. Definite improvement out there to be made. Chris Alien, I believe, will be coming into the pits. Yep. L to do the same. Everyone loosening their ties now. Back into the pits to reset. Getting their heads back together. Fair few invalidations out there, people really testing track limits. Oh, resetting tyres. I believe we will see another hot lap come out of Chris Alien at the very least. Improvements still to be made. 5 minutes of Q3 left. No way any of these races are going to let sleeping dogs lie here. Craig Brook out. Chris Alien also out. Craig Brook invalidating. Doesn't really matter as it is the outlap. Okay, everything's stored up though. Bad boy Sims out for another lap. Ready to put the hammer down. Does so now. One, two, and three. Just thrown away. Clean eating. Blasting through 5. Six, unnoticeable. Down to 7. Together clean, retains a lot of speed. Bring a little, coming out of 8. Hard into 9. The contact made, quite happy with it. And 11, 12, 13, held together very cleanly so far. Up on his time, however. Almost 4 seconds behind pace. Maybe a little too clean. Just not quite pushing hard enough. 4 seconds behind it. Alien having invalidated. Everyone else on their out laps now. Bad boy Sims shaving 400ths off his almost 500ths off his time at the moment. Small but important gains to be made. Retain provisional pole. That boy Sims clearing his own time, 126.766. Widening the gap. We're on board with provisional second. Let's see what he can do. Having had a small discussion with both Ferraris before the start of this race, neither one of them massively confident about their performance on this track. Chris Alien setting a new track fastest lap with a 126.762. 4 thousandths of a second quicker. That really is a bee's dick difference between first and second at the moment. Pace has retired, 127.478. Hopefully keeping himself in 5th. Michelando retiring in 6th at the moment. Lucullus retiring, 127.189, putting himself in 3rd. Rob Wills retiring in 4th. Elliott putting himself 128.18 in 3rd. As it stands, only Craig Brook, who has invalidated, coming into the pits now to retire. Brazilian last out there. I'll give us a full rundown of the grid coming out of this in a moment. Brazilian in first. Boy Sims in second. L in third. Lucas in fourth. Fifth goes to Rob Wills. Craig Brook in sixth. Pace in seventh. Michelando in eighth. Skarma in ninth. 10th is for Chiv. Rejoined by our other races in but a moment. For a full grid rundown. And it's going to be a wet start to the race. This does in fact change things up. For this race, in real life, there are 4 DRS zones. The final one in Sector 3 does not exist in F1 2024. So there will not be that one. It is a slight difference from the real race to the simmed one. We are on for our parade lap. We have Chris Alien in first, Fatboy Sims in second, L in third, fourth for Lucas, fifth for Rob Wills, sixth is for Craig Brooks, Pace in seventh, Michelando in eighth, Skarma in ninth, 10th is Chiv, K-Pax in 11th, Dale's Hutter in 12th, 13th for Bosch, 14th for Devorax, 15th is for Speakley, 16th is for Baz Living, 17th for Nyari, and Kowalski has now joined us in 18th, having not been able to attend for the quali, but is now in the race, ringing up the rear. Does look like we'll be starting in the wet. It does not necessarily look like it is overly wet out there. Let me just have a quick check. Everyone is on intermediate tyres. No one has decided to start on wet. Let's see how this plays out, considering the track itself is very hard on tyre wear. Could the wet conditions improve that? We will find out. Will we see people struggle a bit more with the handling on this track than we did in quali? Definitely going to be an interesting race. Turns 13 and 14 being the potential most interesting out there. It does look like it's potential to help you an entirely wet race with the strategies showing up there. Either a 1-stop or a 2-stop. Everyone rolling up into positions. Now having to make his way through the pack to get to his position. And we are on. Pace jumping Craig. Apex jumping Chiv. Speakly jumping Baz Living. L jumping Fatboy Sims. Fatboy Sims pulling it back. L pulling wide. Michelando up 2 positions. Speakly up 2 positions. Nyari up 2 positions. Dale losing out. Deverax losing out. Craig Brook also losing out. It's clean but chaotic. Through the first 6 turns. Apex going to be looking to pull some places. Nyari really struggling in the wet. Quite a few people making contact with the wall. Nyari sliding all over the track. Deverax and Kowalski potentially looking to make gains on them. Little bits of time opening up between the front runners already. Google is dropping back from L by almost 2 seconds. Chris Alien opening up a gap of 1.1 between him and Fatboy Sims. Beagley keeping on him. Gonna make a move on Bosch. Thinks better of it. Lets off. Could have been a dangerous maneuver. Michelando pushing hard. Chris Alien setting a 1:46.5. Michelando pushing on his teammate. Who lets him by. Craig jumping Skarma. Skarma pulling it back though. Apex putting a move on Craig at the moment. Craig comes in fast. Slight tyre-to-tyre contact there. Ever so slight. Pace eyeing up the back end of Rob. Intermediates. No one really being used to them at the moment. Everyone a little bit skittish in the wet. Craig right on the back end of Skarma. Looking to try and get some of those places back. Craig jumps Skarma into that. Nyari outbreaks him. Tyres locking up between Dale and Nyari. Nyari yields it. Shiv and Skarma dropping back positions. K-Pax up 2 now. Chris Alien setting on 1:43.2. Time opening up at the front of the grid. No one in the main pack really willing to give an inch. Fighting quite viciously for it. Deverax falling back 4 places. Will find his footing. I do believe. Pace holding strong in 7th. Keeping himself a nice little gap between Craig and Rob Wills, just looking for movement. K-Pax eyeing up Craig. Sees the maneuver he needs. Just needs to find the time. Kowalski jumping 2 positions already. Coming into this fairly cold-handed and cold-footed. Likely all over the back end of Bosch. Backing off slightly to give him a bit of breathing room. Caution in sector 2. No result. On board with K-Pax now. Elliott not really letting up on the back end of that boy Sims. Trying to keep it together. Large gap opening up between himself and Lucullus, however. 4 seconds, 3 seconds between Lucullus and Michelando. Ace closing the gap to Rob as much as he can. Trying not to let him away with even an inch. He's got a lot of work to get past both Rob and Michelando. Plenty of time to do it though, 31 laps. 27 of them remaining. Again, front of the grid really starting to open up now. Full seconds between everyone down to 5th. 6th, in fact. Likely still eyeing up. Rear end of Bosch. Kowalski now up 3 positions. Eyeing up Niari. Penalties coming out for Spike Lee, Chiv. Both 3-second penalties. Most likely exceeding track limits. Bosch picks up a 3-second penalty as well. Niari sliding around the place a little bit. Kowalski very aware of this. 3-second. Skarma. Has it stopped raining? Like the track has, it looks like it has stopped raining. Speakly getting past Bosch now. Track will start to dry up very quickly. And these intermediates will start to disintegrate rapidly in the dry conditions. In fact, the track itself mostly looking dry as it stands. Will we see our front runners coming in straight away? Or will they hold it together for another lap? Chris Alien ignores it. Fatboy Sims ignores it. L ignores it. Fatboy Sims setting a 142.6 quicker than Chris Alien's time. Starting to pull it together. Rob jumps Michelando. Pace. Rob going into the pits. Looking to swap. Sorry, Michelando. Michelando, Craig, Chiv, and Speakly all in. Swapping tyres out. Niari picks up a 3-second penalty. The early pits from everyone. What will we see them going on to? Hards and mediums. Michelando, Craig, Dale, and Deverax all on hards. Chiv and Speakly on mediums. Everyone else on 5-lap-old intermediates. Will we start to see this time these racers start to chew this time up. 13 seconds and building between Michelando and Baz Living at the moment. Difficult to say. I think we will start to see racers coming in now. Swap out their tyres. Alien ignoring it. Little wobble. Cowboy Sims ignoring it as well. L ignoring it. Remaining on intermediates. Lucullus. Rob. Pace in for the swap. Can't walk past him. K-Pax in as well. Bosch in as well. Skarma sliding. Starting to feel these intermediates degrade. The drier this track gets and the hotter these intermediates get, the worse they will hang on. It'll be diminishing returns very soon. Chrysalian picks up a 3-second penalty. Most likely track limits. These intermediates will start coming apart very quickly and will cost our drivers penalties. Some contact made with the barrier for Chrysalian. Riding round wide. Stays out. Cowboy Sims remaining on it as well. Our front 3 and 4 all keeping it together on the intermediates. Rob Wills in to swap them out. Almost everyone changing onto hards. Rob Wills taking mediums. Almost sliding all over the place for a second. We really start to see some of these players really struggle. Lucullus holding it together valiantly, but losing time. Our front 3 are just goading each other, pushing each other further and further down this line. Hoping to hope that they will spin or their tyres will give out on them. Really forcing the issue from one another. Chrysalian stays out. Fatboy Sims goes in. L goes in. I fear this may be a mistake. Ooh. Lucullus is in as well. Slides out of the pit briefly. Skarma in as well. 3-second penalty for Bosch. Kowalski all over the place trying to get into the pit lane. Those intermediates really falling apart on him there. Hit back setting a 140. K-Pax coming out ahead of Michelando, also coming out ahead of Kowalski. Baz Living And Chris Alien, the only ones remaining on intermediates. Karma, brand new hards, fighting back away against pace. Not entirely sure what's happened there, but potentially for contact. Baz living, hoping to keep it together. 28 seconds built up between K-Pax, between Chris Alien and Fatboy Sims. This should be a clean, easy pit for him. So both L and Chris Alien looking to close that gap. Very heavily. Pushing very hard now. Alien now leaving pit. Still constrained. 3-second penalty for Speakley. Down to just 4 seconds. 3 seconds. 2. Just under 2 seconds between Fatboy Sims and Chris Alien. Rob Wills sets a 1:37.2. Baz living, jumping into the pits now. Really have paid the price for holding on to them. Kowalski having come out 8 places ahead, holding it together. And she benefiting the most from staying on the inters for this long. Chris Alien having one out of the top 3 racers at the moment. Dale picks up another 3-second penalty. Penalties as they stand. Chris Alien 3 seconds. Skarma 6. Bosch 6. Craig 3. Chiv 6. Speakley 6. Miari 6. 3 for Dale, 3 for Deverax. Chris went on to the hards as well. We've only got Rob, Chiv and Speakley on the mediums. See how that plays out for them as those tyres warm up and then start to degrade. Hard compound potentially providing a little bit more resistance to that. Fatboy Sims 1:35. Showing he's got the pace. He just needs to catch Chris Alien. Potentially even have a small mistake from Chris Alien. Rob Wills setting a 1:35.2. New fastest lap. No one is safe at the moment. A split-second decision or a split-second hesitation will cost them the race. Fatboy Sims technically in pole at the end if they keep this gap up. In fact, at the moment, Chris Alien, if they were to finish the race like this, it would put them in second. He's looking to put the hurt on K-Pax, gain back that position. Race itself at the moment turning into a little bit of a parade. Fatboy Sims 1:35.7. L 1:34.7. Those times are tumbling down. Track at this point fully dry. Rob Wills 1:34.1. Looking at it. Willing to put pain to him. Fatboy Sims. Chris Alien has spun and given himself damage. I think the front wing is broken. Fatboy Sims and L jump him. Lucullus jumps him as well. Going to the car in front. Chris Alien very damaged. Needs to get into the pit. The real shame. Fatboy Sims capitalizing on it, however. It was what he needed and wanted. Skarma making contact with the wall as well. Alien fully losing it now. I believe the full front wing is gone. Just has to let these racers pass him. Nothing he can do at the moment. He'll get into the pits as soon as he can and potentially start a recovery drive. Incredibly unfortunate. Held it together amazingly on the inters and pushed himself far beyond what was necessary. Only to lose the front end and break a wing. We are on board. Pace. Putting pain to K-Pax. Makes it stick. Holds it together cleanly. Chris Alien coming out now. Down 17 positions. Has a lot of work to do. Kowalski eyeing up Michelando now. Sees the potential. Pace looking to chew up some of the time gap between him and Skarma. Fatboy Sims 132L, 132.9. Resetting it again. Will we see the same from Lucullus and Will? Nyari, 3-second time penalty. Do not. Kowalski chewing away at that time gap. As is Pace, closing it to 2.2 seconds at the moment. Quickly jumping Chiv. Chiv not really letting him away with it just yet. Forces him wide. Bounces off the wall a couple of times. Derax picks another 3-second time penalty. Kevin Speakley fighting it out still. Time gap closing. Less than 2 seconds between Pace and Skarma now. Building on K-Pax 1.2. Pace on older cards, however. 6-second time penalty out there at the moment for Skarma. 9 seconds for Bosch, 9 seconds for Nyari. Alien, the only one on 2 stops, mostly due to that broken wing. Lando's really sizing up K-Pax now. He's letting a little bit of that time slip away from him. Oh. Krieg potentially having spun there. Bosch getting past him. L130. Got to really watch out for a safety car coming out and shoring up this grid again. Not sure we'll see it happen. Halfway through the race. Kowalski blasting up the outside of Michelando there. Very cleanly done. Didn't even hesitate. Lando's response is to say, no, not that. I'm going to have that back, please. And tries his best to gain as much time back on him as possible. Back end sliding out, however, for Michelando. Tyres seeming to be shot to bits on this track. Again, Singapore street circuit does put an absolute toll on the tyre wear. We are going to see races start to slip and slide around as their tyres age quite quickly. Michelando on 10 lap old hards. Yep, Kowalski just has more grip than him at the moment. Chris Alien on softs. Looking to really push hard, seemingly. Give into the pits. Yari losing it. Cutting corner, 3-second time penalty. We're annoyed about that one. Case pushing to see if he can take the spot off of Skarma comfortably. Yari picking up another 3-second time penalty. Baz living, if he keeps it clean, potentially going to be jumping quite a few places here due to penalties. Kowalski absolutely battling his way up. Ten places gained. A cold start, no qualification. Virtual safety car is out. Virtual safety car is out. Not sure what caused it there. Chris Alien has DNF. We have K-Pax, Michelando, Bosch and Spiegley all into pit under the virtual safety car. They are going to swap out for new tyres. Nyari in as well. Drive-through penalty for speeding under virtual safety car for Baz Living. That is unfortunate. Drive-throughs, in fact, for Michelando, Baz Living, Bosch. All of them have drive-through penalties. 15 seconds for Nyari at the moment. Incredibly unfortunate for them. The virtual safety car has ended. Lucullus into pit. Bosch, Michelando, and Baz Living all needing to do their drive-through. Will they do it here and now? Michelando in. Bosch in. Baz Living in. All three of them getting their drive-through done as it stands. Kowalski now in 6th. K-Pax in 5th. 4th is for Skarma. 3rd for Rob Wills. 2nd L. Fatboy Sims in 1st. Pace still Rob is pitting. Damage or just swapping out tyres? Swapping out old tyres. Going on to brand new mediums. See how that plays out for him. Rob Wills coming up behind Craig. A lot of time to make up K-Pax. 130.7. New fastest lap. Pace jumps Skarma. Gets round him finally. 26 seconds to make up to his teammate, however. This boy, however, not only is he named Pace, he is in fact on it. We're pushing hard. Catch back up. 3-second penalty goes to L. Multiple warnings. Fatboy Sims not pitting. L into pit. Hoping to come out cleanly before his teammate can round the corner. Good pit. Going to lose out quite a bit of time to Fatboy Sims, however, may look to make it up. Look to make it up. It's going to be close. Back onto the track. 27 seconds between L and Fatboy Sims now. 1 second between Pace and L. Both Ferraris very close. Spike Lee jumping up a position. Overtaking Dale. Lucullus setting a 129.9. Lap old hards on Fatboy Sims. We may see him come in for a pit this time round. L looking to chew up some of that time to really close it out. Fatboy Sims will have to worry if L can get it down to below 20 seconds, although that would be a very, very steep feat. Kowalski doing an amazing job of a recovery. Fatboy Sims is in. It is done. Coming along the pit straight now. L hoping to come out very close to him. Not as close as he'd like. Purple sector 2. Purple sector 3, sorry. L just pips him to the post. In first now. 0.8 of a second between L and Fatboy Sims. Just gets past him. Herculean drive to get past him through that pit. Skarma chasing down pace. Fatboy Sims unwilling to let this go. Trying to close the gap to below 1 second to ensure DRS. Give all over the back end of Spiegly. Skarma eyeing up the back end of pace. Fatboy Sims keeps it to just about a second. Be a hard drive. 22 laps into this 31 lap race. L does need to clear a full 3-second gap between himself and Fatboy Sims to retain pole. And or hope that Fatboy Sims picks up a penalty. L is ghosted at the moment. Potential connection issue. Not entirely sure what's going on there. Fatboy Sims being very respectful of this. Kowalski picks up a 3-second penalty. Michelando, Lucullus, Rob, Kowalski. Ooh, Baz Living, DNFs. They're under safety car, virtual safety car again. Bosch goes into pit. Galando into pit. Nyari into pit. Deverax. Dale. L back out of a ghost. Potentially just a bit of a connection issue there. Fatboy Sims very respectful of it. Not pushing to overtake while he was. Drive-through penalty for Lucullus, speeding under a safety car. That is going to hurt. Pace going in. Fatboy Sims is in as well. These will be the tyres that take them to the end of the race. Rob Wills in. Kowalski now in second. 20 seconds to make up to L. Kowalski only on 1 stop at the moment. Most of the grid is on 2, if not 3. 15 lap old hard tyres, however. Really going to start to struggle. He's, however, gaining time on L. Under the safety car. This will work in L's favour, however, having to conserve his tyres. Getting to conserve his tyres, sorry. Everyone else having to push quite hard to catch back up. Fatboy Sims now in position. He's catching up as well. Not entirely sure why it's saying virtual safety car when it's an actual safety car in front of L. Maybe a slight bug from the perspective's point of view. Kowalski into pit. hoping to retain quite a few of those places and to get rid of the old hard tyres he was on. Very quick pit stop. Going to be coming out just behind Lucullus. Possibly K-Pax. Kowalski in a Mercedes sandwich now. Front of the grid really shoring up. Virtual safety car closing everyone in. Everyone trying to keep heating their tyres as they all start to slow down. Only 2 packs left to rejoin the train. Six laps to go. Everyone weaving heavily to try and keep temperature in their tyres and brakes. Neverax up 1 position. Nyari up 3. Safety car will most likely be in next lap. Hopefully it'll be in next lap. 5 to go. Did Lucullus serve his drive-through? Lucullus still to serve a drive-through penalty. Rob on soft, Spikely on soft, Chiv on soft, Devrax on soft, Nyari on soft, Michelando on soft, everyone else on mediums of various ages. Lando doing his best to catch up. Going to be an absolute sprint to the finish once this safety car goes in. The only ones with no penalties at the moment, Fatboy Sims, Pace, Rob Wills and Kowalski, and Michelando. My apologies. I believe once Lucullus has served his drive-through, he too will be clear. Safety car in this lap, safety car in this lap. We will resume. Everyone really struggling down at 50 to 60 mile an hour. Really having a hard time keeping temperature in these tyres here. Kowalski just poised. Make a maneuver on Lucullus once we have restarted. Car is in. El puts throttle down. He's away. Everyone's jumping around again. Kowalski having jumped. Oops, Skolman picks up a 3 second. There's a lot of battling. K-Pax up. Lucullus. Was having dropped down, having to do his drive-through. That boy Sim's really hunting now. L really has to put his foot down and get away to try and build up some time between himself and these other racers so he doesn't lose out too much to his penalty. It's an absolute shootout for this last 4 laps. Constructors wise, Ferrari's looking in a good position. That boy Sim's not letting him away with anything, only an ever so slight time gap building up. Not enough to negate L's penalty at the moment. Ace, however, closing the gap between himself and Fatboy Sims, potentially hoping to help his teammate out. Rob Wills jumping Skarma, also on the hunt. Potentially willing to put pain to both Pace and Fatboy Sims. Getting in the mix at the moment could be ideal for Elliott, just to give him a little bit of a break. Quickly eyeing up K-Pax. That drive through for Lucullus, incredibly painful. Full second now opened up between Pace and Fatboy Sims. Kowalski looking for an opportunity to get past Skarma. Craig Brook picks up a 3-second penalty. That boy Sims down to 0.3 of a second. Really all over the back end of him. K-Pax doing the same. Purple sector 2 for Pace. Sorry, not K-Pax. This could be quite a harsh time penalty at the moment. As it stands, this would put L out of podium positions. Incredibly painful after the race he's run. We're into the last lap. Into the last lap. It really is knives out time, boys. Let's see how you all fare. Rob almost willing to put it to him. Brought it down to just 0.1 of a second between himself and Pace. Realised there was not going to be the gap and backs off. Deverax picks up another 3 seconds. Spikely picks up another 3 seconds. Ooh, Rob backing off ever so slightly. Potentially a little bit of a slip. Find out. Final lap of this race at Singapore. Craig jumping Dale. Dale jumping him back. Chiv. Dale potentially having spun. Rob pushing hard to keep within that 3 second gap. That boy Sims not really having to work too hard here to take pole off of L. Just has to stay with him. The only one that can help L at this point is his teammate to get in front of him and really start to slow him down, but it's going to happen. L fighting for his life. That safety car. Really unfortunate for him. But again, a brilliant race from all of these drivers so far today. Kowalski having kept his nose clean. Up 12 positions after no qualification time needing to be set. From the back of the pack. Here we go. Unfortunately, L in fourth. Fatboy Sims in first. Second goes to Pace. Rob Wills in third. Elliott in fourth. Kowalski in fifth. Sixth to K-Pax. Skarma in seventh. Spikely in eighth. Ninth goes to Michelando. 10th goes to Bosch. Goes without saying. However, my driver of the day does in fact go to Kowalski. An incredible performance. The game agreed with me. Incredible performance from him. Good tactical decision making. Hell of a drive from him. Pace will be pleased with himself. Wasn't massively confident coming into this Singapore Grand Prix. Elliott will be kicking himself ever so slightly for that penalty, exceeding track limits. As it stands, first place goes to Fatboy Sims, second place to Pace, third place to Rob Wills, Elliott takes fourth, Kowalski in fifth, sixth goes to K-Pax, Skarma in seventh, eighth to Speakley, Michelando ninth, Bosch in 10th, 11th is Lucalis, Chiv in 12th, 13th for Dale. Nyari in 14th. 15th goes to Deverax. Craig Brook in 16th. Baz Living in 17th. Chris Alien in 18th. That is it for our race today. I'll be trying to grab our front runners in for a brief interview, and then I will leave you away with a raid. However, bear with me one moment. I have myself at the moment. Pace, how was that for you? We're just waiting on our other two podium members, but I want to get your insight on that race. You did brilliantly. Some really good tactical calls from yourself.
Yeah, that was a tough one. Very exhausting. You might be able to hear my fan. It was very necessary today. Yeah, that was a real, just constant quality lap after quality lap, that race.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, it looked
and
like
yeah, with the
no one was
strategy.
taking their foot off the pedal. Not one point did anyone let up.
No, definitely not. Great fight with Skarma. Like, there's real tough keeping up with him. Eventually, like overtaking him, and then obviously the massive sprint at the end there with Al, Rob, and Theon and myself. That was
Honestly, knives out between the lot of you. And if I'm honest, it was a razor's edge, because if any of you had even blinked or made a mistake, it would have been all over.
Yeah, that was what I was very cautious of. Like, I maybe could have at some point gone for a move on Theon. But I was just like, we've got both Ferraris quite up there, and obviously Al had his disconnections issues this race. Commiserations to him with that. But yeah, I saw opportunities, but I really didn't want to risk it, and yeah, we end up with the result we have, which is, for at least for me, very, very, very happy with.
No, incredible. Honestly, sound decision making from yourself. You could have pushed it, but you would have risked constructors' points, which is another race to be run throughout the whole season. And let's face it, sometimes you've got to take these ones. L gets the consideration of the two other front runners not really gaining points this time round. So
yeah,
let's just take the constructors' points for Ferrari.
Exactly.
It's a smart play. I mean, I can understand why all of you boys will be particularly warm. However, I've gotten quite hot myself just sitting here trying to keep up with all the maneuvers.
Yeah, we we had complaints in the VC or thumbs.
Oh, I've lost you.
Yeah, no, Singapore is definitely going to be the hardest race. Battle, also in strategy with like calling when to go in for the rain, and with the VSC that came out early. Yeah, mentally, physically, definitely a harsh one, but also meaning very pleasing to then be on the podium.
Absolutely.
But
considering you went into this having had our little talk before this race was run, even in the qualifications, you thinking you'd only really qualify 7th and not really having a massive amount of faith in yourself.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm quite realistic in where I stand. It's like this if I expect to be somewhere and I don't achieve it, I'll get disappointed. So rather be realistic, and then if I do, I did end up qualifying 7th. So yeah, it's rather be realistic than disappointed. That's just my philosophy in that.
Hey, overperform and underpromise.
Exactly.
The best way.
I don't know if Theon and Rob are still...
I don't believe they are. Not actually sure what's going on there. I know that Cleon is not going to be joining us.
Yeah.
He's had to jump off straight away. I believe
that's unfortunate. I wanted to have a talk with him because that was he really had a tough job with being between me and Al, and trying to fend off both Ferraris. So yeah. And then with Rob, he was
incredible.
Yeah, he was unfortunate because he ended up steaming through the field just before the safety car after he pit on medium, so he could have actually caught up to me.
I will say my heart also does go out to Lucullus. That drive through just shot any chances of his recovery drive through the pack during that second virtual safety car.
Yeah.
Again, brilliant driving from everyone. Absolutely spectacular driving from our front five. I was actually not expecting Singapore to be as eventful as it has been, in all honesty.
Yeah, I think the rain helped a little bit with that because that allowed everybody to kind of forget about tire saving and such because it was very easy once. So yeah, that definitely allowed it, and then obviously some greater performances from just all. With the man of the match for driver of the day, that's it. Really good, nice job. I also our newest driver. I actually didn't see if he managed to get into the points.
I don't believe he did.
Still, actually, they should have, right? Because Luke was Luke one of the last drivers, and then we had one retirement.
2 retirements.
Oh, 2 retirements. Yeah, so he should have had a point. Then
at very
least
a point, yeah, potentially at very least a point. Honestly,
so,
he did really well in the opening sort of qualies, getting his feet under him. Race started, did quite well, and then it just seemed to go a little bit astray in the rain.
I see.
My heart does go out to him. He did really well. Again, it's his first race. It is what it is.
I actually heard that he was very inexperienced in F124. I've heard that he had some experience in other versions, but if I'm correct, he picked up the game like yesterday. So very nice job to actually finish a race like Singapore with the rain and such. So
absolutely. Yeah. Considering the possibilities that were out there, that is incredibly impressive. A quick look to see
everybody that did up ending finishing.
Yeah, we only really had, I believe it was Chris Alien, who spun and broke his front wing and then effectively retired after that. And then it was Baz Living, I believe, also retired.
Yeah, he did.
Didn't actually see what caused that, but I mean, sometimes it's
me
just...
neither. I'll
just have to ask him later down the line. Other than that, it's been absolutely brilliant talking to you. It's been brilliant watching this race and enjoying it all. Just want to say thank you very much, and we will be back next week with another race.
Yep. GG's.
GG's, everyone. Bye-bye.